If you're a product-oriented founder like me, you probably get a little nervous too when you get to the pricing conversation during a product pitch. I used to avoid and postpone these conversations and really preferred that someone else, ideally with sales in their title, step in and take care of it. Until I discovered that when done right, founder-led sales are actually the highest converting type of sales. I went from dreading these pricing conversations to actually looking forward to them, and in this video, I'll show you how I made that transition and how you can do the same. Hi there, if you're new to this channel, my name is Ash Maurya. I'm an entrepreneur and author and the creator of the popular one-page business modeling tool, Lean Canvas. On this channel, I share systematic strategies and techniques for launching and growing a startup. So let's get into it. I'll start by outlining 3 reasons why I used to get nervous talking about pricing. First, most entrepreneurs are like artists. We are super passionate about our art or product and love to talk endlessly about it during the demo portion of the pitch, but transitioning from demoing to pricing can feel abrupt and awkward, especially when, number 2, we're not sure about our own pricing model. Most entrepreneurs also price their products like artists. They either pull a number out of thin air or do some basic cost-based analysis to come up with a pricing model. When you pull pricing out of thin air or when you can't confidently justify the value of your product, it's normal for both you and your customer to get emotional. And the last reason is that talking about money is uncomfortable for most people. In many cultures, talking about money is taboo, which is why many founders also avoid putting off this conversation and don't want to put a value on their art. And when you're forced to have this conversation, it's tempting to either postpone the pricing conversation to later by offering a free trial or pilot or underpricing your product. But the difference between a hobby and a business is money or revenue. And if you want to build a successful business, you'll need to get over these false beliefs. In the next section, I'll show you how I did it. The key to overcoming anxiety during pricing conversations is recognizing that talking about price doesn't have to be an emotional conversation. It is entirely possible to make a rational case for your pricing model, and this starts with determining a fair price for your product. The fair price, not optimal price for your product, sits somewhere between 2 anchors. The cost of how your prospect currently gets the job done today without your product, and the value your product helps the customer realize. Understanding the cost of how the job is being done today is where customer problem discovery comes in. This should ideally be done before ever pitching your product. The critical next step, and this is where many founders go astray, is getting the customer to own these anchors before you share your pricing model. When you do, they emotionally buy your product before you even get to pricing, and by the time you get to the pricing slide, all the heavy lifting has already been done. All that's left to do is summarize what you've showed them and get them to rationally then buy your product. Let me show you how this works during a product pitch. I structure all my product pitches into 3 acts. Act 1 is confrontation. This is where you set up the pitch and break their old way. All product purchases are switching stories where a customer switches from an old way of getting a job done to your new way. And before you can sell your new way, you have to break their old way. I used to skip this step because I incorrectly assumed that customers will make the right comparison and decide accordingly. I found that most of the time, they don't. You have to explicitly do this. How you do this varies depending on whether you're pitching an inbound or outbound lead and whether you're pitching online or on a sales call. To keep the steps specific, let's assume you're on a sales call with an inbound lead. I would start the pitch by asking them what brought them to the call in the first place. My goal would be to identify what existing alternative they currently use to get the job done, what high-level business problem they are currently struggling with, and what are the negative impacts of this problem, ideally measured in monetary terms. This establishes the existing alternative anchor. Next, I would suggest one or more underlying root causes with their old way that's keeping them from achieving better outcomes. And then I would tease what a better outcome could look like. Taken together, this breaks their old way in their mind and creates an opening for them to consider some new way. Let me give you a quick example. Say you're selling a project management tool. You might say, so you mentioned your team struggles with hitting project deadlines. How do you currently manage your projects? Now they might say we use spreadsheets and email, And then you could say, I see, in our experience, spreadsheets are great for static data, but they often fall short with collaborative projects because there's no single source of truth, changes aren't tracked in real time, and visibility across the team is limited. Has that been your experience as well? Now, if they nod and say yes, you continue. Those issues typically lead to an average of 23% of project time being wasted on status updates and miscommunication, which for a team of your size translates to roughly X dollars in lost opportunity or productivity per month. What if you could reclaim that time and put it towards delivering projects ahead of schedule instead? If you get them again nodding their head here, you've established the anchors for your pricing model to fit into later. This is emotional buy number one, and the currency at play here is attention. If you can nail their problem and describe it better than they can, you earn their attention and they automatically assume that you must surely also have a solution to this problem, which naturally leads to Act 2, resolution. Now that you've earned their attention, the next step is earning their trust. This is where you walk through a carefully scripted demo that shows how your solution solves their root problems exactly, how they'll avoid the negative impact of the old way, and how they'll achieve the desired outcome you teased earlier with your new way. It's important to note here that your demo shouldn't be a feature dump. Instead, it should be a before and after story that connects directly to the problems you just discussed. Continuing our example, you might say, let me show you how our platform addresses those challenges exactly. Instead of scattered spreadsheets, here's how your team would have a single source of truth. Notice how changes are tracked in real time, and here's how everyone on the team gets full visibility into project status without those time-consuming update meetings. At the end of your demo, ask them how your new way compares to their old way. Based on what you've seen, how do you think this approach would compare to your current spreadsheet system? If they acknowledge the value of your new way, you've just got past emotional buy number 2. They emotionally want your solution now, and the only thing left is to get them to rationalize the purchase. This is where Act 3, call to action, comes in. With all the heavy lifting done, now you can share your pricing model by recapping their old way and the cost of using the old way. This is where you re-emphasize the existing alternative anchor. How your new way helps them achieve a better desired outcome. This is your value anchor. And then you state and rationalize how you determined your fair pricing model. For example, as we discussed earlier, your current approach is costing your team roughly X dollars in lost productivity each month. Our platform is designed to help you reclaim that time and actually deliver projects ahead of schedule, which could mean an additional value of Y dollars in completed work. Given that value equation, we have structured our pricing at Z dollars per user, which represents just a fraction of the value you'll receive. Most of our customers see a full return on investment within the first 6 to 8 weeks. Finally, share next steps that reduce anxiety and friction in getting started with your new way. And here's how you might do that. To help you get started without any risk, we offer a 30-day implementation period where we'll work directly with your team to ensure you're up and running successfully. After that, if you're not seeing the value we have discussed, you can walk away with no further obligation. So how does that sound? Now, here's a bonus tip. Pay attention to how easily they agree to your pricing model at this stage. If they agree too easily, that's often a cue that you should raise your pricing, a highly underutilized lever for most startups. I once had a customer who immediately said yes to our initial pricing without any hesitation. That was a clear signal that we were leaving money on the table. We doubled our pricing for the next prospect and they still said yes. We eventually landed at a price point 5x higher than where we started, all because we paid attention to these little signals. Now, I need to add this important disclaimer. Your success with this method is directly proportional to the quality of your customer and problem insights. When you deeply understand your customers better than they do, it grants you superpowers. The opposite is also true. If you haven't done proper customer problem discovery work, this approach won't magically work. You need those insights to effectively break their old way and demonstrate value with your new way. When you do this well, you end up with something I call a mafia offer, named after the movie The Godfather. A mafia offer is an offer your customers cannot refuse, not because you strong-arm them, but because you demonstrate problem-solution fit. If you want to learn more about mafia offers, you should check out this video over here. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.